For more than 99% of human history, our species lived in small groups of hunter-gatherers. They were directly connected to the natural world because there was no alternative. In the modern world, we've strayed from that path. Far from being directly connected to the world around us, many aren't connected at all, living in a world where every aspect is manufactured and unnatural. The result is that our connection with the land has been nearly lost. It's that feeling of kinship to the world around you, of living your life and spending your days with a connection toward the natural world and knowing you belong there. There's something powerful about providing for your needs yourself, of being close to and embracing the elemental forces of life. Thoreau tried to do this, and so have many before and since him. They wrote books about the experience that many people have read. But a book isn't enough. To really know what it feels like, it has to be lived, even if only for a little while. The way we do that is through bushcraft. What is bushcraft? If you catalogued the accumulated knowledge of a society that lives close to the land, most of it would have to do with understanding the natural world and how it works. Knowledge of plants and trees, animals, the weather, and all the intricacies of the world around them. The rest of that knowledge would consist of how they interact with the land. We call that bushcraft. So bushcraft is the active component of our interaction with the world around us. It's doing, building, making, and creating using the raw materials that Mother Nature provides. It's been called survival, woodcraft, and many other names over the years. It's a new kind of outdoor education that, when you think about it, is actually the oldest form of education there is. There are lots of good schools out there where you can learn different skills. The difference that we put into play is that people are actually out here living it on a day-to-day basis for an extended period of time. So it's not just about the skills, it's much more about the experience that the skills facilitate. Learning traditional wilderness skills eliminates a lot of the unnecessary barriers between you and the natural world. I mean, with modern gear, you can go stay in a remote place and never really interact with the land around you. So for us, it's much more of a holistic view in that people come and they live in a shelter they build themselves. You know, they're harvesting their wood off the land using simple tools. So the living is maybe even more of a lesson than the skills. Even though they've put in roads all over the place, this is still a pretty popular way to travel. Poling probably nearly died out with the advent of the outboard motor. But there's a few of us out there that still enjoy it. Not just because it's historic and all, but it really is the most effective and efficient way to move around this country. Although most people think of the Northeast as being one big city, this region is still pretty wild. We're surrounded on three sides by Canada, and our rivers flow there before arriving at the Atlantic in the Bay of Fundy. The rivers were the early highways through the forest. In northern Maine, most of the rivers run north. The Aroostook runs north and east. It was a major east-west travel route for natives and early settlers. It doesn't get much traffic like it did in the old days of the log drives, but the water is still clear and cold, and the wildlife is abundant. The canoe was the original sport utility vehicle. I can use it to pole 50 miles upstream to the headwater lakes, transport 500 pounds of cargo using only the current and my muscles to propel it, or spend a day fishing and just enjoying the country. To travel by canoe through this country is a way of touching the past. Moving silently, I can watch what's going on around me, instead of it always watching me. Many of the people who come through our programs have been in a canoe before. For most of them, though, It's been a short paddle on a pond or something similar. Here they experience the skills that past generations used to explore North America. But the skills are just a tool, not the focus. We use them to facilitate a powerful, first-hand wilderness experience, so that each participant knows what it's like to travel and live the bush life. Nobody's put it better than Sigurd Olsen when he said about canoes, "The way of a canoe is the way of the wilderness, and of a freedom almost forgotten. It's an antidote to insecurity, the open door to waterways of ages past, and a way of life with profound and abiding satisfactions. When a man is part of his canoe, he's part of all that canoes have ever known." Pack baskets, especially the kind made of the brown ash that we have locally, are a really neat way to make something super useful out of materials you gather from the forest. So the first thing we'd do if we were pounding the ash would be to select a tree, harvest it, bring it back, quarter it out, and then start pounding ash strips. Once we have all the materials prepared, the first thing we do is get our skids and cut our skids out. And then we cut the notches for the straps. Then we assemble the base of the basket, all the uprights with the skids and the base plate or the board that goes inside to keep all your stuff from falling out. Once we have that all done, we have several pack basket molds so that the first basket that people make, they can turn out with a decent shape instead of taking 3 or 4 to learn that process. So we put the mold on and then we start weaving. You come up it like a barber pole, and when you get to the top, we cinch everything down, we pull the mold out, then we put on the rim, then we put the straps on, and it's done and ready to go.